And we're on to the conference semifinals in the NBA postseason. Hello, everybody. I'm Scott Spreitzer, DocSports.com. He's the young gun over at DocSports. He is Griffin Murphy, our first chance to jump into videos together. And we're going to be here all playoff season long in the NBA, right into the NBA finals. And Griffin, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to a couple of these series. We're going to be talking about the two that start on Tuesday, which is, of course, the Mavs and Thunder, and then the Cavs and the Celtics, and dig in and get your thoughts. I want to first talk about the Mavs and the Thunder, Griffin. And this series is interesting because you've got the Thunder right now who are a $1.25 series favorite in most books, come back on Cleveland about plus $1.05. But as we speak, I'd say, and I got about 20 books on my line service, there's about 95% that have it at a $1.25. Before the season began, when I'm doing all those preview shows with VSiN and all that kind of stuff, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I like what they're doing at OKC. I like how they're building a nice, steady mix of young guys who are coming up in the basketball world, mixed with a couple of veterans. I think this team's got a shot to get to the postseason. I think they're probably a season away from going any deeper than that. And here they come on, and they surprised me a little bit. They surprised a lot of people a little bit. And now they're not only in the second round, but they've got home court advantage in a best-of-7 series against Dallas. Your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, Scott, this one is a little different for me. And it's because you've got to put all of the load on Kyrie and Luka. Luka, he's going to come out. He's going to perform. The dude's an absolute stud. He does it game in, game out, whether it's playoffs or all season long. Kyrie, playing with that playoff atmosphere energy, really playing that NBA caliber that this Dallas Mavericks team needs for him to play in order to win. The X factor is PJ Washington. He cannot have good games and bad games. He has to play strong all series long. He has to take control on the boards, and he's got to score at least double digits in each game. He did not do that against the Clippers. And Gafford, he is a must on the boards. He has got to be double digits on the points. He's got to shoot from the field, and he's got to clean up on rebounds. Dallas, they have no issues playing at home. They have no issues playing on the road with the same record of 25-16 across both sides. They can play anywhere. That's not an issue for them. Where did their losses come from against the Clippers? Well, the first loss occurred. James Harden dropped 28 points, and they hit 50% from the perimeter as a team and dominated on rebounds. Zubac went off. PG-13 was the X factor. They figured out if we could shut down PG-13, we can win this series, and that's exactly what they did. Their second loss occurred, the Clippers hit 62% from the perimeter. How do you stop anybody from doing that? But you roll over to OKC right now. This team is one of the most potent offenses in all of basketball. I want to say they finished the season third in offensive points per game and fourth in defensive efficiency. Shai Alexander averaging 30 points per game on the offensive side all season long. This team moves at an insane tempo. And the problem for Dallas is they don't have that great of a defense. On the other hand, for OKC, they're young, they're athletic, they're speedy, they can bang from the perimeter, and they can bang from the field, and they are fast with Alexander. And then you have Williams coming off a 5-board game. This guy has done it at least 5 rebounds in every single game of their most recent set. Giddey, long, lengthy dude, plays outstanding basketball. And then the X factor, Chet Holmgren, averaging 8 boards a game and 16 points per game. He has been the key ingredient to this OKC offense, aside from Shai Alexander. They just cleaned up a 4-0 sweep against the Pelicans. Pelicans are a team who plays good at home, but they play better on the road. OKC had no issue running through them whatsoever. I love what we're getting with OKC here. They came into this series on a 5-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10 games. They have now won 9 games in a row. And to top that off, Scott, at home, this team went 33-8, which is outstanding. On the road, 24-17. Not bad at all. How does Dallas deal with a team like this? How do you stop a potent offense like this? Scott, I just don't see it happening. They are going to have to play so out of their league, and they're going to have to rely so heavily on Luka and Kyrie. And I just don't think the depth is there enough for them to sustain this young gunning OKC Thunder team right now, Scott. You with me, Scott?
Griffin. Yeah, service went down for just a second there.
No worries, brother.
I heard the majority of what you were saying. And, when I look at this team and agree with what you're saying about OKC and what they can do that Dallas can't really defend or change, I look at Oklahoma City like I do all teams at the end of the regular season. Generally speaking, with about 10, 12 games to go, I start looking for potential futures for teams to win the NBA title,
Sure.
see if there's a good line. I want to plunk my money down on a team. And I start by looking at teams' offensive and defensive efficiencies. And I always like to go with the team that's in the top 5 in both of those important metrics. And there were only 2 this season. And that was the Boston Celtics and, believe it or not, these young Oklahoma City Thunder. And so I did make a future. I didn't see a line that I really liked, and I wasn't sure yet if I wanted to jump on OKC to get to the championship. I don't like to hedge, Griffin. I'm not one of those guys who has a real nice smart bet and then throw hedge money on it and kind of, I don't want to say throw bad money on good money, but you know what I mean. I just don't like to go back. Now, if I've got, 10 dimes or something like that, I might look to do it a little bit, but that's what it would take. But the bottom line is that, and I'll tell you why I was fearful of backing OKC to win the title or even to get to the championship finals in just a second. When I look at this particular series, I'm thinking about those offensive and defensive efficiency marks. Again, OKC in the top 5 in both. Their weakness, besides their inexperience, is rebounding, their work on the boards, which is not good. But the Dallas Mavericks don't have what it takes. They don't have the goods to take advantage of what OKC's weaknesses are. Dallas has a low rebounding rate, especially in the offensive glass, a low rebounding rate. So I don't think they can take care of where Oklahoma City needs to shore things up in the offseason. And you're going to put this team to the line a lot, probably. Oklahoma City commit a lot of personal fouls. They put opponents on the free throw line. But outside of Doncic and the flat earther, Kyrie Irving, I'm not sure that the rest of the team is going to be able to make enough as far as percentage-wise free throws to be able to win this particular series. But I just mentioned the weakness in rebounding for OKC, and it probably won't be exposed here. That's why I couldn't jump on them for any kind of future play to get to the NBA Finals, because I think next round, like if they play Denver, they're going to have problems, and that's where it's going to be. But in this particular series, Griffin, $125. I like Oklahoma City minus the price. I think it's fair to win this series over Dallas.
Yeah, see, Scott, I'm with you here as well. And I think that's a very fair price. I like OKC here, minus 1.5 in the series, to take this at almost 1-2 odds. You get a plus 190 if OKC can take this in 5 games. And like I mentioned, I just don't see how this Dallas Mavericks team is going to compete. As I mentioned, OKC 33-8 at home this season. You can get them tonight at a pick'em match at minus 165, which is not fair by any means. And then with rest advantage against the spread, they are 11-5 this season. Dallas, on the other hand, 15-17 against the spread as an underdog, 9-10 against the spread as a road underdog, and they're dealing now with an OKC team that just swept the Pelicans 4-0 and now on a 9-game winning streak. Give me the OKC Thunder, lay the 1.5 to win this game or win this series in 5 games at a plus 190. That is my play on this series prediction, Scott.
Can't argue with that, man. I like it. I'm going to play them on the series and also follow what Griffin's talking about as far as how many games they're going to take to get this series under their belt. Cavs and Celtics. Yeah. You see that big hefty price. Now, there are some books out there that aren't that expensive on Boston, and you don't get or you get a little bit better price if you like to back the season this one. It's interesting line movement on this series because, again, I've got probably 50 books on my line service that I can look at. I choose between 18 and 20 to have up on my laptop at all times. And when I was looking at this series, when we found out it was going to be these 2 teams, I saw most books, especially in Southern Nevada, opening this around minus 2,000. However, there were a couple that opened this a little bit lower. I mean, you had, for instance, the Circa. They opened 1,900. They went all the way down to 1,350. Mm-hmm. They're now back up to about 1,700 on Boston. Over at the South Point, Sharp Book, good friends behind the counter there for many, many years. I've done a ton of shows with these guys. Chris Andrews, Vinny Magliulo, Jimmy Vaccaro, they opened Boston minus 1,600. They've stayed there, which I think says a little bit about the action that's going on around Southern Nevada. I mean, big price changes at a couple of the sharper books. So having said that, Griffin, I did mention earlier that, Boston's one of 2 teams to be in the top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency ratings throughout the course of the season. They are a tough nut to crack, as everybody knows at home. What does Cleveland have to do to knock off the C's? Is there any possible chance that you could see that the Cavaliers pull the major upset?
Well, Scott, I mean, we could break this down game for game. And going back to that Miami series with Boston, I mean, game one, destroyed them from the perimeter, destroyed them on boards. Their lone loss came in game two, but it was simple. They won on rebounds. They won on every single metric. Miami just hit 53% from the perimeter, and that was all due to Tyler Hero. He was outstanding. Game three, simply outplayed. Boston was up nearly 30 points at halftime. They rolled all over this team. They outboarded them game four. They dominated from the perimeter. And then game five was a complete blowout. 40% from the arc. Out-rebounded them 56-29 without Porzingis. And now, everybody's big if factor is, well, Porzingis is out right now. You have to remember that this Boston Celtics team ranked second in the NBA on rebounds all season long. They dominate. That is not an issue for them whatsoever. Going at Cleveland right now, the X factor is going to be Donovan Mitchell. He has to drop at least 20 to 30 points each game for this team to sustain. Garland, he flies around the court. We already know what to expect from him. He's not going to be your playmaker, but he is speed. He is somebody who's going to swing the ball around. He's going to get you a lot of assists. He's going to get you a couple points from the field, to maybe a little bit, 10, 14 points, double digits, expect it. Jared Allen, he is your go-to guy, and right now he is a game-time decision. I don't think he's playing. He played like a complete madman against Orlando. But if you didn't notice, and everybody should have noticed, that series came down to one thing. That was home court advantage. Cleveland won 3 games at home. That is how they took over. Orlando, 4 games at home. Orlando, 2 games at home. That was the differential in this series. Now, how do you expect this? Because Orlando was just 18-23 on the road this season. Their dominance was at home. Now you have to deal with a team like Boston, who not only plays not just outstanding at home, but they dominate on the road too. Going into this game, Mitchell on the road against Orlando was held under 20 points every single game on the road. That was the X factor. And then you go back home, he dropped 28 points. That was a victory. Game 4, dropped 39 points and 9 boards. The X factor here is Donovan Mitchell. This team has to slow him down, and I don't think they're going to have any issues doing it. Boston is dominant across all levels of the paint. I mean, you've got Tatum, you've got Brown. These are as good of a dynamic duo 1-2 as you're going to get. From the perimeter, the pick and roll, from the field, it does not matter. White having an outstanding postseason right now, going off.
I love White, by the way. I really do, Griffin. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I love this kid. And I think, he goes off for 30 plus the other night. If he's getting above his season averages, Cleveland has no shot of hanging around even game by game. But I really like this young guy because when it became crunch time in the playoffs, boy, his game just picked up even more.
It became ridiculous. This guy thrived under pressure, Scott, and that's what I love about him more. Somebody who doesn't care the circumstances, the consequences. Give me the ball, give me the rock, and let me get it done. And that is exactly what White has been doing. And then our fourth guy who I really want to talk about, because again, everybody's, Porzingis is out. This could change everything. Has everybody forgot about Al Horford? I know he's not Porzingis, but Al Horford's a full-blown veteran. And this guy pops from the perimeter. He's all over on rebounds, and he's a leader on the court. He knows when to chew a guy out. He knows when to talk somebody up when they need to be talked up. Al Horford is a leader on this team. He's got 2 young guns with Tatum and Brown who are hungry for that ring. I just don't see how Cleveland is going to be able to hang around, especially when you roll into Boston. I don't think they have a chance. And then on the road, if you looked back, Orlando trended. Each game they played better and better, and it was all due to rebounds. Orlando was picking up on the boards. If they had one more game in Cleveland, I think Orlando takes that one. So going into the series prediction, Scott, I love here Boston, and you don't get the greatest line, but I don't see Cleveland winning a game in this series. I think Boston takes this. I'm laying the 2.5 in the series. Give me them on the series prop at a -170. 4-0 sweep Boston Celtics. That is my play, Scott.
Yeah, the 2.5 you're talking about, they could even win a game and you win the series.
Right.
It could be a 4-1 series. So, yeah, I mean, when you talk about like Porzingis and then Horford getting more minutes, the biggest difference between these two guys, and it might lead to maybe some assist props when it comes to Brown, for instance. When Horford's playing, he's looking for his shot first, where Porzingis is looking to dish to an open man.
Right.
And so you might see a little bit more of driving and dishing. out of Brown than even we normally do. I've had a really nice run with these NBA, like since April 1st, like 70% of my props. And I know you've done incredibly well. I'm going to ask you about that in a little bit. But I did have one of my losses coming on Jaylen Brown over 2.5 assists. And it was after Porzingis, had been taken out. The next game he doesn't play. It's the first game that he didn't play. Over under was 2.5 Jaylen Brown assists because I'm thinking, okay, Horford's in there. He's looking to shoot when he gets the basketball. Mm-hmm. He had 2 assists at halftime. He didn't get a single assist in the final 2 quarters. That was a bummer of a loss there because you're feeling pretty good. But I would look at some of these assists for a guy like Brown with Porzingis is sidelined because that means somebody else is going to have to drive and dish. And we might see that a little bit more. It just be careful because it's not an automatic that Brown's going to go off for 5 or 6 dishes, especially if they're dominating Cleveland throughout this series. He might get a little rest time in the fourth quarter. Having said that, as far as this series is concerned, 100% agree with you across the board. I think laying the 2.5 games is a good way to go. I think they probably sweep this series. What I would do if I'm the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, in this case, JB Bickerstaff, because Porzingis isn't in there, and he is a guy who protects the rim, part of why they're so good with defensive efficiency is because of the rim protection and paint protection by Porzingis. He's not going to be in there, so I'm telling my man Donovan Mitchell, I want you to attack. I want you to drive, do your best to draw fouls, put it up off the glass or slam it home if you get the chance. And obviously, if it's clogged in the middle and you're being guarded or defended well, you dish out to an open man. And I'm looking at him to do that. And it'll be kind of shocking to me if you don't see Donovan Mitchell attacking without Porzingis being out there. So we agree on this one. Lay 2.5 with Boston to win this by at least a 4-1 series advantage. And that's where I'm going here too, Griffin. So we're thinking along the same lines. Boston too strong here. If Porzingis, if they got problems inside and Horford's not really picking up the slack, they're not going to have problems here. It's going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And if they get there in that championship series. So we're both on the same play here. And Griffin, let everybody know, how you've done thus far and what's going on over the next couple of days on your homepage over at DocSports.com.
Sure. So I will say, Scott, the first round of playoffs, I typically like to be a fan more so than an actual bettor. I will say, right. Due to the fact that you don't necessarily know what's going to happen. You don't know the playoff atmosphere. These guys all come out full throttle, and they don't do this full season. A pure example is James Harden. I mean, did he pop off in a couple of those games in that series, dropping, I want to say, 28 points, and he was hitting like 75% from the perimeter. So it's a very hard thing to do to cap the first round of playoffs because you don't know what to expect from these guys. I did not have the greatest first round of set, but I will say, from my expectations, the way that it has circled itself, having the Thunder and the Mavs play each other, I predicted that. The Timberwolves and the Nuggets playing each other, I predicted that. Celtics and Cavs, I was off on the Cavs. I wanted the Magic. I liked the Magic. I thought it was going to be Boston and Orlando. So I was there on that. Pacers, Knicks, I loved that. So my overall circumference of the entire spectrum has all been accurate. I hit 63% in NBA over the course of the entire season. I'm at 166 games. I have fallen off. I believe I'm hitting 58% right now. We are having a winning season, and I'm feeling very good about this upcoming slate in round 2. So going over to the site, I have one play tomorrow, potentially 2. I'm looking at a totals play right now. I'm waiting for that line. I circle all my plays on Monday. I wait for these lines to come down, and when they are ready to go, I go in. There's potentially 2 plays tomorrow. I may have a side on one. I for sure will have a total on one. I'm just waiting for that number. But when it comes to my prop plays, for those of you that like quick drips, quick adrenaline pops, I have algorithms as well as I use my intuition to coincide both of them. I love first quarter NBA races to 10. I'm very good at them. I will have one of those plays coming out tomorrow, as well as my MLB side of things. Yesterday, I had a 7-unit best bet on the Toronto Blue Jays, who opened it up with a grand slam. Vladdy up 6-1 in the first, somehow ended up dropping that play after a 3-0 sweep on Sunday. So no, I was not thrilled about that. Today I have a 3-pack. Tomorrow I will have a 3-pack. I will say I have one play in mind that could potentially be a 5-unit to a 6-unit best bet. Still waiting on the line and still waiting on pitching matchup confirmed. Then on the prop side of things, Yesterday, I had a 7-unit prop play. That was a MLB Murphy. That means over under in the first inning, half a run. Yes runs first inning is a Murphy. No runs first inning is a Murphy. I had a Murphy yesterday with the Chicago Cubs versus the Milwaukee Brewers. Dansby Swanson goes outstanding, saves me a run, and ended up capitalizing that 7-unit best bet. I have another one that goes out tonight, as well as tomorrow. I will have a 2-pack on my MLB Murphys. NBA race to 10. I will have one play on that side of thing. NBA actual sides. I will have one side as well as a total, just waiting on the lines. And then MLB, my standard 3-pack, potentially a 5 to 6 unit play. I'm going off right now. I'm 14-9 in MLB. I had a slow start, but I've really kicked it into gear as of late. When it comes to NBA, hitting 58% over 167 plays this season. NHL on a $650 run. And in soccer, 11-5 in my plays rated 6.0 or higher, up $1,200. So Scott, we are rolling. The menu is hot. The slate is hot. The week is on fire. We got NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB in roll. I am fired up and ready for the week, Scott. What about you, my friend?
I can't wait to get at it. Of course, we're cutting these videos about 6 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. And so we'll be looking a little bit deeper into live movement, as Griffin was talking about for Tuesday's card. But we just swept the top plays this weekend in all sports. The NBA's 53-30 with my last 83 top plays. Top plays, by the way, 5 stars and higher. And baseball, as I mentioned, just swept the weekend. We hit another big top play yesterday in baseball. Actually had the over, which fell to 8. It was 8.5, fell to 8. And I'm probably ahead of the closing line about 85% of the time. Been doing this so long. But that went from 8.5 to 8. We got 9, so it was going to win either way. Griffin, I'm telling you, I'm watching the game, and I'm texting a couple of guys in my betting circle. The Mariners come up in the top of the first. They put the first 2 batters on base. Strikeout. Nothing. Bottom of the first, Houston, they put the first 2 batters on base. Out. No runs scored. Seattle comes up, bases loaded, nobody out. They got 2, but they still had nobody out. No more runs. I remember texting somebody in my circle, and I said, these guys are going to go scoreless the next 4 innings. Just watch and see. They won't even get a hit. Well, it's 6th inning, I believe it was, and it's like 2-1. Well, they ended up going over in a 5-4 final with a run in the 9th, so I was very thankful for that. But that was the top play there. We had a great top play weekend again. Top plays overall, 201 and 137, and up over $27,500 during this run. So it's been really nice. I'm knocking on wood here because I hate to jinx myself. I don't want to say, Griffin, you're having a fantastic run. I'm going to say that while knocking on wood. We don't want to mess each other up here. But anyway, check it all out each and every day of the week. Griffin's page, my page, everybody over at DocSports.com. Griffin, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to doing these playoffs right up until the finals. You have a wonderful and best of luck Monday night and Tuesday. And folks, you know what to do, man. Like I've been saying for 25 years, let's put them in the win column, everybody.